Hey, CCF family, God bless you. It's Pastor David. Hey, many of you have been asking about what's going on with us in terms of reopening the building for Sunday services. And I want to kind of give you a general summary of what's going on behind the scenes. And we haven't communicated in a while about kind of where we are. So here's what's been going on. We have a team of about 7 people within CCF, internal to CCF, who are some of our most strategic people. They do that for a living. And so we put a team together and we started meeting on June 23rd was our first meeting. And we took the holiday and then we're meeting again throughout the entire month of July. And here's the team's responsibility. We are, as a team, coming up with a strategy from what we call from everything from A to Z in terms of what it's going to take to reopen and relaunch our services on Sunday morning. Let me say this first. We're not in a hurry. We're not in a hurry. We're not in a hurry. We are still choosing to ensure safety and health first. And so we're not in a hurry, but we also do believe that at some point in time, God is going to give us permission or blessing, and the Holy Spirit is going to lead us to come back to our services on Sunday morning. Let me say this up front. We are going to continue to have our online service. We're going to continue to enhance our online services. We're going to continue to make that available. We do know that when we feel that God has released us to go back into the facility for Sundays, we still understand that some of you are not going to be comfortable. And so it's not going to be mandated. We know if you're not comfortable, we're going to make sure that we've made our services available online so that you can still worship and participate to the best of your ability. However, we do know that when we do go back, we want to be prepared. It's so what we are in right now is what we call the preparation, planning, strategic planning period, and the relaunch. And so we got 4 teams that we've put together with the 7 people, and the team is a sanitization team. So that team is responsible for coming up with not only a sanitization plan to sanitize the entire building before we ever come back in, but also an ongoing sanitization plan. And so we've got 4 vendors that we're vetting right now, that we're looking at their proposals to make sure that we do what we call a thorough, deep cleaning before we ever enter the building. That team also is going to be responsible for figuring out what to strategically set up sanitization stations and come up with policy about how we want members and visitors to operate while they're here in the building as it relates to sanitization, masks, sanitization, hand sanitization, washing of hands, how we use the facility, everything that affects keeping the building sanitized and clean and free of any kind of COVID-causing situations. And so we have the sanitization team. Then we have the logistics and operations team. And that team is responsible for coming up with if we're going to social distance in the church, if we're going to do anything different with seats, if we're going to mandate policies as it relates to not allowing people to gather in parking lot or gather after service or gather in the lobby, or how we're going to let families sit together who live together. And we don't have all the details worked out on that yet, but we have that team. We're going to be looking at everything we do in terms of operations, from CLI to nursery to children's church to passing the basket, not passing the basket, to not doing walk-arounds. So we're going to look at our services from cradle to grave, A to Z, and figure out what we need to change, what we need to amend, what we need to adjust, what we need to stop doing in terms of making sure that the facility continues to be safe and a healthy environment to worship. And then not only do we have the sanitization team, we have the logistics and operations team, we also have an entry team. That team is going to be responsible for policies and practices as it relates to people entering the building, not only just on Sundays, but entering the building on any day during the week, because again, we want to have ongoing practices and policies that make sure that our building remains safe. And so that team's coming up with a detailed plan in terms of screening questions at the door, checking temperatures at the door, what we do if somebody's temperature spike is spiked very high, how we handle that, how we deal with that. That team's also going to be responsible for, developing a plan of traffic as people enter the building, how they enter the sanctuary, how we keep certain areas safe and free of traffic and free of crowds. And so that team is going to come up with that. And then finally, we have a communications team. I'm part of the communications team. This video is part of the communications team. We're going to be giving you weekly updates via e-blast, via Facebook, social media. We're going to keep you informed to the best that we can as to what's going on with our relaunch plan. Of course, at the end of the day, this virus and how this virus acts and what it's doing, how it's spiking not only across the country, but what it's doing in Michigan and specifically what it's doing in Wayne County. We're going to be monitoring that, watching that, and that's going to obviously have some play in terms of what we do in terms of launching, relaunching and reopening our building. Let me just say this. Hey, we're not in a hurry. God has sustained us. God is blessing us. We're not in a hurry. We're not in a hurry. We're not in a hurry. But we do want to be prepared when God releases us to go back to the facility. I wish I could give you a specific date. I can't. This team is meeting every week all through the month of July. We're going to come up with a consensus and a detailed summary plan that will be available to you. We'll make it available through our social media, through our website, and also we'll make sure you can go and look at it and see what we've done as a team from A to Z to make sure that we have made the building safe for return. At the end of the day, some of you want to know specifically, when are we coming back? I don't have an answer to that question. Number one, again, the virus is going to have something to do with that. Number two, the team is going to come to a consensus. Number three, we're praying that the Holy Spirit would give us some direction. We are also consulting with other churches who are in the process of opening. We decided that it's better to err on the side of not being the first, but we want to watch and observe what some other churches are doing so we can have some learnings from them. So we're talking about 2 or 3 churches who are going to launch and open up before we are. And so we're going to do the best we can to make sure that we're doing it in a way that's safe and in a way that's healthy and a way that's going to be a blessing. We also are aware that if we do open and things should change in terms of the virus spiking here in Wayne County or the conditions should change, we also aware that we won't be afraid to shut things down if things should get to a point where it is unsafe. We determine it's unsafe. We are not, let me just be clear, we are not mandated as a church to adhere to all of the government mandated situations. However, we chose as a church and as a team to still adhere to the spirit of all of the mandates. In other words, right now, the Governor Whitmer has a policy out there that says, no more than 10 people in a gathering inside of a facility. We don't have to adhere to that, but we also want to make sure that we're respecting what she's saying. We also know that she's saying no more than a public gathering of 100 in an outside facility. Again, we don't have to adhere to that, but we are respecting what she's saying. So what I'm saying is we're going to adhere to the spirit of the law, and we're going to see where it applies and how it applies to our particular context. And so again, we're not in a hurry. I don't have a specific date yet. In my mind, I had a specific date, but again, the virus started doing some crazy things here in the last couple of weeks. And so again, we want to make sure that we're being responsible. We're not in a hurry. We're not going to force it. We're not going to force anybody to come back. We recognize if and when we do open up the building, some of you still are not going to be comfortable. And again, that's going to be your choice. So we'll continue to have our online services to make sure that you can participate and be involved at worship here at CCF. God is blessing us. God is sustaining us. God is keeping us. What we're doing right now is we are praying and we are planning and we are thinking through every process that we have in our church. We're going to lay out details to you once we get the details, and we're going to lay out to you an exact plan and policy and procedures as it relates to us going back to the building. I know you still have questions, but again, I'll be giving you these weekly updates, hopefully when there's relevant and new information, so that you kind of have a good idea of where we're going and where we're headed. Right now, I gave you the general plan. Strategic team is meeting every week. With these, each team is putting a detailed plan together as it relates to their particular component: sanitization, entry of the building, procedures and optimization, and then communication team. We're all putting all those together in a comprehensive summary. We'll get that out to you as soon as we have those things available to you. I wish I could give you specific dates. I wish I had a target date to give you. I don't, and I don't want to throw anything out there right now because, again, this is fluid. We're not sticking to our guns and saying, hey, here's the day we chose and here's where we're going to open up. We're going to do what's best for our church. We're going to do what's best for people. And I pray that you all are praying with us and trusting God with us for a healthy and safe return when God says to do so. Well, God bless you and God keep you. I can tell you I miss you. I don't like preaching to a camera. I miss CCF. I miss congregation. I miss hugging. I miss seeing you all. I miss being pastor to my congregation. But prayerfully, we've been able to continue to try to touch bases and impact and love you virtually as best as we can. So that's the update for today. God bless you. God keep you.